Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack those foundational ideas that, really matter.
And today we're looking at something that challenges, well, pretty much everything we're told about work.
Totally. I mean, think about it. We live in this world that's just obsessed with hustle, right?
Yeah.
Speed, instant results.
Grind culture.
Exactly. And we're constantly sold this myth, this idea that only constant, nonstop effort creates constant value. It's like the default setting.
It really is.
But what if that wasn't true? What if instead of feeling like you got to work harder every single day, you could build something, like once, and then let that creation work for you, day after day, year after year, long after you did the initial work?
That's such a mind-bending idea for most people, isn't it? Especially today. It runs counter to everything modern productivity seems to preach.
Right. It makes you stop and think, what are we actually optimizing for? Just busyness.
Hours logged versus actual lasting impact.
Exactly. And this deep dive, well, it's all about making that shift. We're exploring the core of what Justice O. Malcolm calls the builder mindset.
Which is laid out so well in their book, Build Once, Benefit Daily. Really transformative stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack how this mindset shifts the focus away from just short-term effort.
Towards long-term impact, yeah.
We want to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding how to build, scalable habits, enduring systems.
And that reputation-based equity that keeps delivering value long after you step away.
Yeah. And you might find some surprising insights here that honestly could change how you view your time, your energy.
Yeah.
Your potential, really.
What I find fascinating is that this builder mindset, it's not about being lazy. Not at all.
No, definitely not.
It's the opposite, actually. It's about building with smarts, with foresight, with real purpose. Justice Malcolm uses this great analogy.
Oh, there's the tree one.
Yeah. Planting trees, not just picking fruit. You're not just taking what's there right now.
You're investing, creating something that grows.
Exactly. You're building an engine, like you said, an engine of momentum, not just running on a treadmill until you collapse from exhaustion.
I love that. Building an engine.
Yeah.
And the key difference, the book argues, between just being a consumer and being a builder, it comes down to leverage.
Leverage.
A consumer, they live in real time. What they do today, it only really serves today. The value often just vanishes when the work stops.
Right, like constantly refilling a leaky bucket.
Yeah. Whereas the builder, they operate in what the book calls legacy time.
Legacy time. I like that.
What they build today keeps benefiting tomorrow, next year, maybe even people they'll never meet. They're not just solving today's problem.
They're architecting solutions that can scale, whether it's a system, a product, an idea, something that multiplies.
And this is like the foundation block, isn't it?
Yeah.
This whole mindset kicks off with asking yourself one really powerful question.
Which is?
What can I create today that will serve me and others every day after?
Wow. Yeah. Just asking that changes everything.
Right. It changes how you spend your time, where you put your focus, how you even define success. You stop chasing fleeting outcomes.
And start designing these engines that keep running.
So if that's the core idea, leverage, what's the first big shift someone needs to make to really start thinking like a builder?
Well, that leads right into one of the two really foundational shifts the book highlights. Moving from just pure effort to creating assets.
Effort versus assets. Okay.
Yeah. Society loves to glorify effort, doesn't it? Working hard, the grind, the hustle.
Oh, absolutely. Put in the hours, get the results. That's the mantra.
But here's the kicker. Effort has a ceiling, a hard limit. You physically can't just keep working more and more hours forever.
True. Diminishing returns kick in hard.
Exactly. And the real trap is that focusing only on effort often stops you from building the very assets that would actually free you from that ceiling later on. It's a cycle.
And that's where people get stuck, right? Trading time for these results that just disappear the second you stop pushing. It leads straight to burnout.
Totally. It's like trying to win that marathon by sprinting the whole way. You just burn out.
So how does the builder break free? If not more effort, then what?
It's not more effort. It's smarter building. It's shifting your focus from just pure output.
Ownership.
From time-bound labor to asset-based creation. An asset, in this sense, is anything that keeps providing value after you've done the initial work.
So, give me an example.
Okay, think like royalties from a book or a song, instead of just a paycheck for the hours you worked writing it.
Right.
Or a system, like a software tool or a documented process that runs on its own instead of a task you have to manually do every single week.
Gotcha. Something that works for you.
Precisely. And the truly liberating part, when you have these assets humming along, Your physical presence becomes optional, at least for that value stream.
Your time is decoupled from the income or the impact it generates. That's huge. That's where real freedom comes from.
Mm-hmm. What might seem like a heavier lift up front, maybe spending extra time designing that perfect system.
Yeah, that could save you an hour every day for years.
Right. That initial investment becomes this long-term gift. It creates mental space, freedom, options. It's not laziness.
No, it's leverage. Smart leverage,
Mhm.
allowing those assets to compound. That feels like a core principle for, well, block and wealth, doesn't it? Building sustainable value.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the second big shift, which is just as crucial, moving from scarcity to abundance.
The mindset shift. Okay.
Yeah, because every single thing we do, every decision, it's filtered through our mindset, right? This invisible lens that tells us what's possible and what's not.
It's amazing how powerful that filter is.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it's there sometimes.
Exactly. And a scarcity mindset, it just whispers negativity. There's not enough time, not enough opportunity, not enough permission for you to build something.
It makes life feel like a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose.
Right. So you become protective, reactive. You fear the future, which makes long-term building seem risky or pointless.
So you just focus on immediate survival, putting out fires.
Pretty much. You get stuck pouring effort into things that offer short-term comfort, but zero lasting return. It keeps you as a consumer just waiting for instructions.
What does that look like day to day? Just feeling constantly busy, but never really getting ahead.
That's exactly it. Perpetual busy work, feeling trapped, always reacting, never creating from that place of, foresight.
Okay, so what's the alternative? The abundance mindset.
An abundant mindset is rooted in a totally different belief. It believes value can multiply, opportunity is everywhere, that creating something new actually breeds more opportunity.
So it's not a fixed pie.
Not at all. It sees every day as a chance to add something valuable. When you operate from abundance, building becomes the obvious choice.
Because you trust that what you create can grow beyond your initial input.
Yeah, it can touch lives, reward you in ways you didn't even expect. This mindset embraces intelligent risk. It makes peace with uncertainty. It fuels courageous action.
It lets you start laying those blocks even if you can't see the whole building yet.
Exactly. You don't need perfect clarity to begin, just a belief in potential.
Okay, this all sounds great. Shifting from effort to assets, scarcity to abundance. But how do we actually apply this? How do we start building intentionally? Because let's be honest, most of us just react to the day.
Yeah, living by default is easy. The builder mindset says, no, you design. Intentional design.
What does that mean practically, designing your life?
It means choosing structure before chaos chooses it for you. It's about reclaiming ownership, your hours, your habits, your focus.
Not just external stuff like workflows, right?
Yeah.
Also internal.
Absolutely. Designing your self-talk, your core beliefs, your goals, all stemming from a clear vision. Because a strong design up front saves so much correction later. Think of it like an architect planning meticulously.
Right. You don't just start throwing up walls randomly. You need the blueprint first. And that blueprint, that internal imagining, is vision, the very first asset you need to build.
I think it has to be. Vision is the foundation. It gives direction. It turns just like mundane effort into meaningful investment.
Because you know why you're doing it.
Exactly. And vision isn't just some fuzzy wish. It's internal architecture. It provides clarity over certainty.
Clarity over certainty. Explain that.
You don't need to know every single step, right? The future is uncertain, but you need clarity on what matters most, where you're generally heading.
So it acts like a filter, helping you say no to distractions.
Precisely. And it anchors you when things get tough, when resistance inevitably pops up. Vision is the landscape. Goals are just specific destinations within it.
That makes sense. The map that keeps you going in the right direction. Okay, so vision is foundational. What about daily actions? The book says willpower alone isn't enough for discipline.
Oh, definitely not. Relying only on willpower, that's a recipe for burnout. We've all been there.
So builders don't just have more willpower.
No, they build habits that work even when motivation dips. They create patterns that become almost automatic. It's like silent architecture for success.
Silent architecture. I like that.
They treat habits like systems you install, not chores you force yourself to do repeatedly.
So it's less about muscling through and more about designing the path of least resistance.
Exactly. The best habits reinforce themselves. It involves your identity, like becoming someone who is consistent and tweaking your environment so the right action is the easiest one.
So instead of trying to exercise, you become someone who prioritizes movement and sets out their gym clothes the night before.
Perfect example. You design the friction out of the good habit and maybe into the bad one.
Okay, that's a powerful shift. And speaking of efficiency, another key point is automating the mundane to focus on the meaningful.
Yes, strategic reservation. Not every task deserves your full, unique human attention.
So automation is like a builder's secret weapon.
Totally. It reserves your creativity, your empathy, your complex problem-solving skills for the work that genuinely needs you.
How do you do that without becoming, like, detached?
It's about identifying those repetitive tasks, the ones that drain your energy, and figuring out how to streamline them, schedule them, batch them, or maybe just eliminate them entirely.
It's not about doing less, necessarily.
No, it's about doing the right work more consistently, with more energy. It reduces mental clutter, frees up bandwidth.
So you can actually focus on the purpose behind it all, creating systems that hum along quietly.
Exactly, which sets you up perfectly for scaling.
Right. Let's talk about scaling and sustaining these creations, because a huge part of the builder mindset is shifting from working for money,
To building things that work for you.
investing time now into things that keep earning, keep serving, keep growing, long after you finish the initial build. That create once, monetize forever idea. Very block and wealth.
Absolutely. And the digital age has blown the doors off this concept. We now have digital real estate.
Digital real estate, explain that.
Assets that live online and can serve people, theoretically, forever. Think of a great blog post that gets consistent search traffic.
Or a YouTube tutorial that people keep watching for years.
Or an online course that sells passively. These aren't just temporary content pieces, they're assets. They occupy space on the internet's infinite shelf.
The infinite shelf.
And they can compound in value over time without you constantly having to be there pushing them. But the insight here is, it's not just about throwing content online.
No.
No, it's about understanding how people find information, what provides real value, how to make it discoverable long term. Builders create for the archive, not just the fleeting timeline.
Creating for the archive, that's powerful. Thinking beyond the immediate buzz.
Building those appreciating blocks of value.
And what about making one idea go further? The book talks about scalable creation, making one idea become many.
Yeah, the best ideas aren't just created, they're multiplied. It's about designing your work so one core concept can be expressed in many ways.
How does that work? Is it just recycling?
No, it's strategic reinvention. A really well-developed idea, maybe from a talk or deep research, can become newsletters, a course, podcast episodes, a book chapter.
You repurpose intelligently.
Right. It reinforces your message, builds trust through that consistency, and honestly, it protects your energy. You go deeper on fewer things rather than constantly chasing the next new topic.
So you shift from being a performer, needing a new act every night,
To a producer building a lasting library of assets, an ecosystem around your core value.
building an ecosystem. I like that. And another related idea is teach what you build what you teach. That sounds like a powerful feedback loop.
Oh, it's incredibly potent. It creates this synergy between doing the work and explaining the work.
How so?
When you teach something you're actively doing, your insights are fresh, they're real, your credibility comes from lived experience, not just theory.
You're speaking from the trenches.
Exactly. And teaching itself is amazing leverage. It multiplies the value of your experience. Plus, it forces you to get crystal clear in your own understanding.
You have to simplify it to teach it.
Right. And the other side, building what you teach, that closes the gap between saying and doing. It proves your ideas work. It builds massive integrity.
People trust you because they see you living it.
That alignment is magnetic. It builds a really solid foundation.
Okay, so we're building assets, ecosystems, integrity, but the world loves speed, overnight success. How does the builder handle that pressure?
Builders know that overnight success is, well, usually a myth.
Right. It's the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. It's the visible result of years of often invisible, consistent, compounded effort. The quiet work nobody saw.
Consistency over intensity.
That's the mantra. Consistency might seem boring to watch, but it's beautiful to live. And impatience. Impatience kills consistency every time.
So builders prioritize durability. Sustainability.
Absolutely. They know that things built slowly and carefully often last longer. Reliability scales success and trust far better than a sudden, flashy surge. They're building momentum, not just chasing applause.
Every consistent action is another block laid.
Building towards something much bigger than the moment.
Which brings us to the ultimate payoff, right? Legacy. And making this builder mindset your new default.
Yeah. Legacy isn't about fame. It's about, as the book calls it, intentional residue.
Intentional residue. What does that mean?
It means building with the long view, making choices today that serve your future self, your community, maybe even people you'll never know.
So asking, what systems, habits, relationships, assets am I creating now that will make life better down the road?
Exactly. It's shifting from reacting to life to proactively designing it. Living in builder mode becomes your default.
It's not just for specific projects. It's how you move through life.
It's a daily discipline. You stop asking, what can I get from this?
Start asking.
What can I make with this? How can I build something lasting from this situation, this challenge, this opportunity? Problems become prompts to redesign, to lay another block.
And living like that, it must change your whole definition of success.
It does. You become the architect of your life, not just a tenant renting space in your circumstances.
That sounds like it would bring a lot of inner stillness.
A huge amount. You operate at your own pace, focused on clarity, contribution, compounding action. You create a life that actually starts working harder than you do.
Reflecting your values, growing even when you pause.
Exactly. Less friction, more flow. Creating from calm, intentional design, not chaos. That's where true wealth, in every sense, the kind we talk about with block and wealth, is really built.
Wow. Okay, so we've really unpacked this builder mindset, moving from that reactive time for effort trade
to intentional asset-based creation.
Yeah, it's about leveraging time, focusing on clarity, and just embracing compounding in everything you do, turning daily actions into value that lasts.
It really invites you to think differently about where your energy is going each day.
So the final thought for you listening, what's one small intentional brick you can lay today? Something that'll keep serving you, maybe others too, long after you've put in the initial effort.
How can you start designing your legacy even in small ways? Starting now, not just reacting to your days, but building something where your best efforts outlast the moment and keep rewarding you day after day.